nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered. Still I scarcely more than muttered. Other friends have flown before. On the morrow will he leave me, as my hopes have flown before? Then the bird said, nevermore.
Exavna. No one knows this deceased deity's alignment, but their portfolio included moon and battle. Her holy symbol appears to have been a scimitar with a crescent moon for a blade, with the new moon cradled in the crescent's arms. Exavna is now a long-forgotten deity of the Aslanti people, who is dedicated to the moon and to battle. Her faithful trained new warriors to lose themselves in the heat of battle while maintaining their combat prowess. She is said to have vanished shortly before Earthfall. The only known references to her existence can be found in the ancient ruined city of Savinth Yai in the Mwangi Expanse, and in an ancient Aslanti temple nearby. What few know is that Exavna died trying to protect the Aslanti from the destruction of Earthfall. When she learned of the Aboleth's plan to destroy the continent, she pulled Golarian's moon from its orbit to intercept the massive meteorite. The impact with the moon shattered the world-killing projectile into thousands of pieces, but did not slow or deflect it from its course. Instead, its shards inflicted lethal wounds on the goddess's physical manifestation. Distraught by her death, the Aslanti god of magic, Amaznen, sacrificed himself to render the remaining deadly aboleth magic clinging to the meteorite fragments inert, transforming it from a world killer to one that, while incredibly destructive, gave life on Golarian a chance to survive. When it impacted with Golarian, it completely obliterated the continent of Aslant and plunged the world into the Age of Darkness. But thanks to Exavna and Amaznen, it did not cause the death of all life on Golarian. Exavna's corpse plummeted into the site of an abandoned Selwynvan observatory, obliterating the structure and penetrating deep into the planet's crust. The mordant spire rose from her grave, formed from the essence of her soul as it attempted to reach Pharasma's boneyard. The elves who currently inhabit the spire are said to be able to hear whispers of Exavna even now, thousands of years after her death. Amaznen. Amaznen is the primary god of magic in the ancient Aslanti Empire. His worship was outlawed in the younger Thessalonian Empire. The followers of Amaznen had a rivalry with those of the other Aslanti god of magic, Lissala. Their disagreement stemmed from the fact that Lissala extorted her worshippers to share their magical knowledge, while Amaznen believed in keeping it somewhat secret. Amaznen was a close ally, some say a lover, to the Aslanti goddess of the moon and battle, Exavna. Eolor, once called the Lady of the Hunt. Her alignment was chaotic evil. The demon lord Eolor was killed and her abyssal fortress destroyed by a vengeful Desna after the Lady of the Hunt took control of the body of a recently deceased Desnan priestess to wreak death on the priestess's loved ones. This possession of heroes just after their deaths was Eolor's penchant, especially when the dead person's soul could witness the suffering caused. Eolor made many enemies in this way, including Calistria, Sarenrae, and Shaylin, who all helped Desna in her vengeance. Calistria's aid especially was key, as Desna's flagrant act nearly started a planar war. Calistria's politicking turned the allied demonic host, the Coalition of Chaos, against itself and averted the war. Eolor's quasi-soul now resides in the abyssal rift of repose. Azhaya. all knowledge of Isaiah has been lost to time, save her name. She hangs in the throne room of the archdevil Beelzebul, at once dead and alive, serving as an endless feast for the archdevil's cannibalistic hunger. Kirchanas. Kirchanas is a mostly forgotten god who reigned over beasts, travel, and endurance. Kirchanas was known to have been worshipped by the ancient Aslanti, based on evidence found in the city of Savinth Yi in the Mwangi Expanse. While Desna was still a young goddess, she would spend many nights listening to tales of his travels. Their long talks came to a sudden end when the envious demon lord Lamashtu led Kirchanas into a trap, robbing him of his dominion over beasts and catapulting the demon into divinity. This attack was too much for the god to withstand, and he was killed as a result of the theft. As his final act, he passed on his dominion over travel to Desna, who had always treasured the tales of his journeys. It is said that this theft caused humans to lose their bond with animals, who thereafter only saw them with suspicion and mistrust. Some faint shrines on remote paths still bear faint echoes of the dead god's power. Desna still mourns her friend and seeks for a way to release his trapped essence. The nascent demon lord, Daclau-Sar, is believed to have been created by Lamashtu from Kirchanas' corpse. Ibdurinjian, previously known as the Lord of the Red Tide. His alignment was chaotic evil. Ibdurinjian was slain by Arudin and his army within his own palace in response to the demon lord's harrying of Aslanti survivors of their country's destruction. During the height of Aslanti power, cults dedicated to Ibdurinjian existed along several coastal cities. In life, Ibdurinjian ruled from a coral palace in the abyss. Like all dead demon lords, Ibdurinjian's soul now resides in the abyssal Rift of Repose. Regarding his appearance, Ibdurinjian looked like a huge aquatic monster that resembled a cross between a eel and a merman. Aias. He was also known as the First. His alignment was chaotic good, and his portfolio included freedom. Aias was, according to the Book of the Damned, one of the two primeval entities with his brother and equal, Asmodeus. Born spontaneously from the mysterious source of life known as the Seal, the two, together known as the First, began as formless motes of energy. When the Seal birthed other, lesser motes, the First became self-aware. Aeons passed, and slowly the First and the lesser motes began exploring creation. These were the first gods. One of the first uttered the first sound, discovering the power of speech, and thus knowledge. He named himself Aias, and his brother Asmodeus. Aias and Asmodeus, together with the lesser gods, began to sculpt creation to their liking and slowly introduced the concept of order into reality, creating stars, planets, and the fundamental laws that bind them. Then Aias forever changed their creation. He created the first mortals, discovering the concept of souls and worship, and the other gods followed his example. Amid the rampant creation and destruction of new life, Aias felt sympathy for mortals, who as yet were but puppets for the gods. So Aias bestowed upon mortals free will, causing the first schism of the gods, between those, like Asmodeus, who viewed mortals as mere tools, and those, as himself, who desired freedom for their creations. Asmodeus, devastated by his brother's act, showed Aias the chaos and destruction that he had sowed, and Aias became the first being to know regret. But the Imperial Lord Sarenrae came to him and showed him that great good had also come from mortals' freedom, and that other gods supported him. War tore the gods, the first conflict between order and chaos. Aias defended the right of mortals to choose their own destiny with Sarenrae at his right hand. Finally, on a distant world, Aias and Asmodeus met for the last time on the field of battle. Asmodeus offered his hand in brotherhood and then performed the first act of treachery, murdering Aias with a great spear. In a last act of sympathy for his brother, Asmodeus allowed Aias's dream of freedom to stand. He then created hell as a monument to the old ways of absolute, merciless order, as a warning of what he would one day make anew. Only one remnant of Aias remains, the Aiaster, a fragment of the spear Asmodeus used to slay him. This artifact holds within it the final scream Aias uttered. Mara. She was also known as the Lady of Shame, and her alignment was chaotic evil. Mara was an ambitious servant of Sokoth-Benoth, being his lover and hired assassin. Mara was profoundly skilled at killing her victims and then sullying their reputations, such that those they left behind were so shocked at the person's legacy this shame would force them to turn their backs on their former acquaintance or friend. Mara was killed by a wily Nauticula, who used Mara's own methods against her to so shame the Lady of Shame that Sokoth-Benoth has disavowed her memory. Nauticula's ire was awakened on discovering Mara's desire to usurp her position as Queen of Succubi, with the help of Sokoth-Benoth. Like all dead demon lords, Mara's quasi-soul now resides in the abyssal rift of repose. Peacock Spirit. This dead deity's portfolio included mind, body, and soul. The mysterious god known only as the Peacock Spirit had much to do with the rise of the Empire of Thassalon. A god or goddess of indeterminate gender, worshipped by spellcasters throughout the ancient empires of Aslant and Thassalon, the mysterious Peacock Spirit is said to have possessed both many forms and none. Never depicted as more than a single feather or an open eye, the Peacock Spirit's long-dead followers likely took the secret of their deity's demise with them to the grave. Its symbol, a large peacock feather with an opened eye, adorned the thrones of many early emperors. The worship of the Peacock Spirit ended with the decline of ancient Thassalon. The Peacock Spirit is known to be a religion of mystery. Even in its prime, little of its dogma was understood by those outside the Church, and so even less can be inferred by modern scholars. It is said that in ancient times the inner circle of the most devout worshippers knew the deity's true name. The Peacock Spirit was served by an ascetic order of monks, many of whom built monasteries on the Stovall Plateau in the ancient domain of Shalast. One of the few of such structures to have survived to the present is the Black Tower, now part of the stone giant enclave of Jorgenfeast. It was built and run by a group known as the Thoracic Order. The monastery of Sech Nivali, located in the Mindspin Mountains of the southern hold of Belkzen, was originally dedicated to the Peacock Spirit, although it has been in possession of a different order for a long time. The Thoracic Spire in the Varisian city of Kaer Maga is thought to be associated with the deity as well. The only other known surviving temples are said to be located in the mythical city of Zin-Shalast in the Kodar Mountains. The Peacock Spirit also sponsored an order of knights known as the Order of the Green Feather, and some believe that the contemporary monks of the White Feather in Quadira secretly worship the deity as well. There is a holy text and artifact associated with the Peacock Spirit that still exists on Golarion today, the Emerald Codex of the Thoracic Order. This is a collection of spells and rituals devoted to the Peacock Spirit, penned by, obviously, the Thoracic Order. One known copy of this text was written on wyvern hide and consisted of 18 scrolls. The Revelation Quill. Originally created by worshippers of the deity from a peacock feather, this quill is said to still be tied to the power of the Peacock Spirit. When properly used, it can answer questions posed to it, leading some to believe that the Thessalonian deity might not be completely dead. Hello everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this video series on the deities of Golarion. For those of you following along in the Inner Sea Gods Guide, you'll notice that there were a few entities mentioned that I did not bring up here specifically in the video, and that's because we're likely to get to them once I decide to do the daemons type of covering of the lore of Pathfinder. I would like to mention them now, though, just for completeness' sake. The entities mentioned are about the 4 horsemen, and specifically former horsemen. You see, Charon is the sole horseman to hold his title since its inception. There are several fallen horsemen, which include Leuthria, the parasite queen, who was the horseman of famine for a span, Azalos, the corrupting, Drulema, the fever princess, and Ursinius, all of which, at one time or another, held the horsemanship of pestilence, and Roshmolum, the steel weaver, and Ortaro, of the 10,000 Screams, were both previous horsemen of war. As I said, we will likely cover information from the Book of the Damned and things like that in a later series, so look forward to more information on them at some point. For now, we will call this series on the Inner Sea Gods finished. It's a big milestone and has taken over a year to accomplish, but it's because of you viewers that it has been possible. If you have enjoyed this series at all, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you want to specifically mention me in a comment, tag me as +TheN. And, as always, have a great day. God bless, and enjoy.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.